Chapter 45, An Incident on the Highway, 1994. A week after I defended my master's thesis, we loaded our lives into our Dodge sedan and left Hayes behind on December 10, 1994. Our car was packed with everything we owned. Boxes, bags, books, pots, and pans, an entire chapter of our lives condensed into a back seat overflowing with luggage. However, ever the comfort artist, June turned that cramped space into a delightful haven for our daughters. She arranged blankets and pillows into a cozy nest, set out their favorite picture books, scattered toys like hidden treasures, and tucked snacks within easy reach. As Lucy and Cynthia spotted it, they squealed with delight and tumbled in, giggling and wriggling into their snug hideout. Their laughter resonated in the car, a sweet, innocent tune set against the uncertain road ahead. The girls were ecstatic about leaving. I felt a thrill too, yet beneath my excitement a quiet, heavy unease settled in. For 4 years, American life had been a contradiction for me. I had dragged myself through graduate school like an ox hauling a broken cart, slow, stubborn, and exhausted, putting off everything only to get by. At the same time, I had fought like a tiger, relentless and fierce, determined not to yield. I studied America as if it were an academic puzzle I was determined to solve, traveling across states, observing, comparing, and questioning. June and I dared to bring another life into the world amid that chaos and exhaustion. As I turned the wheel onto the snow-covered highway, the horizon stretched endlessly ahead, fading into a sky heavy with clouds. I had no idea what lay before us, but I knew this wasn't going to be just another move. This wasn't just geography. It was something bigger. If I had to summarize my American experience so far, it would be with a classic Shanghai phrase: sideways, upright, sideways. A zigzag life. A blend of improvisation, stubbornness, and endurance. In early 1994, I received a call from Tang Liming, my childhood book dealer, a spokesman for Shanghai's Industry and Commerce Bureau. His voice was filled with almost impatience, perhaps even disbelief.
What are you still doing in the U.S.?
I'm having a baby. I gave a vague response.
You should come back to Shanghai.
To him, my words likely sounded absurd, disconnected from the Chinese political and economic landscape. Yet, they were the only honest response I could give. The truth was I had no clear sense of my path in life, or even what my desires were. Then Tang made a shocking revelation.
Do you realize your current worth? $2 million.
I was on the verge of dropping the phone. Just a year prior, he had mentioned, if you had stayed in Shanghai, your net worth would be $1 million. Now suddenly my value had been doubled. In 1 year, $2 million? I sat there in disbelief, trying to understand what had happened. Only a few years ago, an average family in Shanghai would make less than 1,000 yuan annually. At that time, anyone earning more than 10,000 yuan per year could easily have been seen as corrupt and brought in for interrogation. But now? Millionaires? What had changed so dramatically in China since I left? And more hauntingly, what exactly had I given up by leaving? And what was I still giving up, staying here, in the United States? Life has been fairly straightforward over the past 4 years, governed by a simple mantra: study diligently, work hard, and get by. My options were limited, and my direction was clear. But now, I found myself teeming with decisions about my legal status, where to reside, what career to pursue, and even which school district to choose for my children. For the first time, I felt genuinely free. Yet this newfound freedom felt more burdensome than ever. As I gazed out at the snowy landscape ahead, I noticed that the days-old snow had frozen into dangerous sheets of ice, rendering the road slick and unforgiving, despite the snow plows that had carved out a path. The temperature had dropped below 20 degrees, and with every thunderous 18-wheeler that roared by, my Dodge sedan trembled violently, momentarily losing its grip. For a brief and terrifying instant, I felt the tires slip, lose control, and I had to tighten my grip on the steering wheel. I intended to leave Kansas, traverse Colorado's rugged mountains, journey north through Wyoming's desolate plains, and then join I-80, passing Utah's expansive salt flats. Next, I would navigate Nevada's dry, thorny deserts before reaching California. Yet as I drove, another thought occupied my mind, something grander than the geography, something beyond this road trip. Every time I drove on an American highway, I was amazed by the brilliance of the system. The signposts were clear and precise, effortlessly directing drivers. The entry and exit ramps were perfectly designed, just the right length and curvature. U-turn lanes were strategically located, providing an easy option for those who made mistakes. It felt as though the entire system was crafted with the acknowledgement that errors were an inevitable part of life. Instead of ignoring or punishing these mistakes, the roads offered a means of returning a second chance. Then it struck me. This extended beyond highways. This is America, where errors aren't everlasting and setbacks don't signify finality. It encourages growth, adaptability, and fresh starts. Despite its flaws, America represents a country built on the principle of redemption. In sectors such as education, business, and personal endeavors, the concept of second chances is deeply embedded in their core. I believe that understanding this is what makes America genuinely remarkable. We were nearing California, traveling at 80 miles per hour across the vast Nevada desert. The highway lay before us like a ribbon of asphalt, fading into the shimmering heat on the horizon. Surrounding us was an expanse of sand, rock, and an unyielding sun. There were no gas stations, rest stops, or signs of civilization, just the blistering sun overhead and the dry desert wind rushing through the car windows. And then, bang! A violent jolt. For a brief moment, I thought we had collided with something. Then, the front of the car dipped as a dark, shredded mass burst out from the left side. Instinctively, I tightened my grip on the wheel, my heart racing, while the car swayed. Miraculously, it remained straight, gliding to a stop on the gravel shoulder. I let out a deep, shuddering breath. June looked at me, holding our child in her arms.
"What happened?"
she asked. I opened the door and stepped into the sweltering air. The Nevada desert was eerily quiet and still, an endless, desolate expanse. Crouching by the front left tire, my stomach dropped. The rubber was shredded entirely, leaving only the bare metal rim gleaming mockingly in the sunlight. I opened the trunk and pulled out everything. Bags, boxes, blankets, until I found the jack, deeply buried at the bottom. Once set up, I placed the spare tire nearby and rolled up my sleeves, ready to loosen the lug nuts. The wrench dug into the metal as I pushed down hard. Nothing. I shifted my stance and pressed again, using all my weight against it. Still nothing. The stubborn lug nuts refused to move. Wiping the sweat from my forehead, I glanced up the empty road. There were no cars, houses, or gas stations, no signs of life, just us, stranded under the merciless Nevada sun. It felt hopeless. Then in the distance came a sound. There was a deep, throaty rumble. It started low and then rose, growing louder. A massive 18-wheeler barreled toward us, a steel beast roaring down the highway. June, holding our child, hurried forward and waved. The truck thundered past, but then slowed, its air brakes hissing as it came to a stop about 50 meters in front of our car. The driver's door swung open, revealing a broad-shouldered man in a dusty blue cap who climbed down. He approached confidently, his steel-toed boots crunching on the gravel beneath him. No words, no questions, just a silent nod. Then, without hesitation, he reached for my lug wrench and tried loosening the nuts himself. But the rusted lug nuts still refused to budge. The trucker exhaled sharply, shook his head, and returned to his rig. He climbed up, rummaged inside, and returned, carrying 2 wrenches. One was longer and built for leverage, and the other was a heavier-duty impact wrench. He tried again, and again the nuts didn't move. The trucker walked back to his cab. Through the open door, I could hear the crackle of a CB radio as he spoke into it, his deep voice rolling through the static. A few moments later, he hopped down and motioned toward the other side of the highway. I turned and saw another massive truck had just pulled over on the opposite side of the highway some 30 meters away.
"They'll take you,"
the trucker said. I blinked. Take me where?
"to a shop. They'll bring you back and fix the tire."
He had already arranged everything. No hesitation, just efficiency and a quiet sense of duty. I thanked him. He returned to his truck and drove away. I told June to stay in the car with Lucy and Cynthia and wait for me. Then I crossed the highway toward the waiting truck. The 18-wheeler was enormous, a true behemoth of the road. Grabbing the handle, I climbed the towering metal steps into the cab. The deep growl of the diesel engine vibrated through the cabin, blending with the thudding bass of blaring rock music. The interior was shockingly spacious, roomy enough for 7 or 8 people to sit comfortably. The driver, a burly man in his 40s, threw me a sideways grin.
"Stranded, huh?"
I nodded. He reached into a small cooler by his side, pulled out a can of Coke, and tossed it to me.
"Strap in,"
he said.
"Let's roll."
The truck lurched forward, its size making the motion feel more like a ship setting sail than a vehicle accelerating. The radio crackled to life as another trucker's voice cut through the static.
"Got the guy?"
"Yep.
My driver replied.
Heading to the shop now."
I sipped the Coke, letting the cold liquid settle in my throat. Do you guys always help stranded drivers like this? I asked. The driver smirked.
"Hell yeah, it's the job."
I frowned. But do you have to? He nodded, keeping his eyes on the road.
"Yep, somebody has to do it."
I sat back, letting those words sink in. This wasn't charity. It wasn't for show. It was truckers' coda system that kept people looking out for one another on the highway, just as sailors code on the high seas. I had come to America expecting ruthless individualism. Instead, I found a culture where help arrived without being asked for, and people still believed in watching out for strangers. The scorching sun blazed above the vast Nevada desert, shimmering on the horizon. Maybe, in this vast and lonely land, people understood something fundamental. If you don't stop to help someone, one day, when you need it, there might be no one left to stop for you. Unlucky? Or the luckiest I had ever been? As I sat in the towering cab of the 18-wheeler, the deep hum of the engine vibrating through my seat, I felt no frustration, despair, or fear. Instead, my heart was warm, secure, and filled with gratitude and happiness. I looked out the window at the vast, open desert, where the sky stretched impossibly blue. The wildflowers lining the roadside seemed more vibrant, and the distant calls of unseen birds rang out clearer, lighter, freer than ever. I didn't feel like a foreigner in a strange land. I felt something else entirely. Something I had never expected. I felt at home. Wasn't this what home was supposed to feel like? A place where, no matter where you were, No matter how lost or stranded, there was always someone willing to reach out, to stop, to help. Not out of obligation, not out of expectation, but simply because it was the right thing to do. Wasn't this the kind of human environment we were meant to have? The truck rolled into a small town, home to a single repair shop. Its red and white signage peeling under the Nevada heat. The driver pulled to a stop, turned to me with an easy grin and said,
All right, this is your stop. Good luck, buddy.
Just like that. No speech, no drama, just a casual farewell. I shook his hand, struggling to put my gratitude into words. But before I could fully express it, he was back in his truck, shifting gears and roaring off into the horizon, vanishing like a guardian angel in denim and diesel. The repair shop's pickup truck took me back to the highway, where June, Lucy, and Cynthia were still waiting. We piled back inside after our car was fixed, ready to go again. We were moving forward into California.